Hi everybody, Miss Tiffany here with another story for you. Before I begin my story, I wanted to give you a quick heads up. There's some construction going on outside my house. So if you hear any banging or beeping in the background, it's just the truck that's outside my window. But hopefully you'll be able to hear me. I'll make sure to speak nice and loudly so you can hear my story today. The stories I'm doing this week all take place in a part of the United States called Alaska. So I'll pull out my globe again to show you where it is in case you missed my other story. But we live down here in Connecticut, and Alaska's all the way up across the United States, all the way up here, kind of toward the top of the globe. So in Alaska, the other story we were reading, we learned that parts of Alaska have the sun out all day long, but then in the winter the sun is gone all day long. So Alaska is a pretty special place. There's lots of animals in Alaska, and the animals that we are going to read about that are found in Alaska are bears. And the title of this story is Alaska's Three Bears, and it's written by Shelley Gill and illustrated by Shannon Cartwright. So you can see all the bears on this title page. So we are going to have some bears in this book. Let's find out what's going to happen. Once upon a time, there were three bears: a big white bear, a medium-sized brown bear, and a small black bear. Ooh, and this book also gives you lots of information about bears. I'm not gonna have time to read that today, but if you would have want to take out this book from the library or buy this book or borrow this book, there's a lot of information about bears in this book. At the first sign of spring, the bears began to wander across the great land known as Alaska. One by one, they came to a vast empty delta, and it was there that they met each other for the first time. The big white bear was tired because he had traveled the farthest. With spring almost over, he decided it was time to head home. He just grunted when the brown bear asked to go along. The small black bear tagged behind, skipping sometimes to catch up. One day, after crossing miles of bald hills, they came to a place where the land met a frozen sea. The snow crunched as they followed a twisted path through the mountains and mountains of ice. The sky was icy fresh, and it seemed to dip and disappear until it landed in the white glare of ocean. Does anyone know what a white bear is called? Polar bear, right? The polar bears live where it's very icy and frozen. The big white bear, the medium-sized brown bear, and the small black bear saw lots of tiny tracks in the snow. "Look, an Arctic fox," said the brown bear. They heard a plop and a splash from a nearby hole in the ice. "A ringed seal," whispered the big white bear. Then everything was still. The small black bear sniffed the air and shivered. "This place is too cold," he said. The medium-sized brown bear growled. "This place is too lonely." But the big white bear climbed to the top of a high ridge and stretched his long neck. His black eyes sparkled as he scooped a mouthful of snow with his dark tongue. Then he walked pigeon-toed down the slippery surface, using his short, sharp claws. You think the polar bear likes it here? Wow. In the stillness, the polar bear looked like he was made of ice and carved by the Arctic wind. His hollow, cream-colored hair kept him warm and helped him blend into the ice-covered land, so he could hunt the ringed seals. He turned to his friends and said, "This place is just right." Then he dove into the frigid water. The small black bear just sniffed as they left the polar bear's home. The brown bear grumbled. "Who could live here? Not me. No, I don't like ice. I don't like snow. I don't even like fishing at 40 below." So the two headed south. They crossed tall blue mountains covered with moss and wildflowers. After many miles, they came to a big river. Its sharp banks dropped to the silty water. The two bears wandered through a tangle of willows until they came to a stream. The small black bear gulped a drink and scrambled across. But the medium-sized brown bear stopped when he saw a flick of red in the water. Can you see it right there? I wonder what it is. See? A salmon thrashed his tail, kicking up gravel as he swam upstream. The gentle wind ruffled along the hump of a gold-tipped hair on the grizzly's back. The bear turned and saw his own tracks, huge and swirled with wrinkles. Suddenly, he lunged at another salmon, trying to pin the fish down with his big paw. His claws, long and curved, were as perfect for fishing as they were for digging the roots he loved to nibble in the spring. Oh, so he's trying to catch the fish with his sharp claws. The small black bear groaned. The ground is too hard here. This place is not home. There are no berries, no forests to roam. But the grizzly heard a raven calling and saw a caribou prance by on the other side of the stream. There were ground squirrels to chase and roots to dig. This place is just right, he told the small black bear, and he started upstream, following the salmon. Oh, so the brown bear was called a grizzly bear. Do you think the small black bear is going to find his home? I think he will. The small black bear lumbered away with his head down. His last friend was gone, and he was still a long way from home. He wandered through the summer, lonely and sad, until he came to the edge of a deep forest. In the cool autumn shade, he stopped at a stump to dig for bugs with his curved, narrow claws. The wood was the color of a shadow, dark gray and blue. It matched his glossy fur, and it made him feel better to know that he could hide in the forest and be safe. The black bear climbed a nearby tree. He heard the friendly chatter of the magpies and smelled the spruce trees. He saw a bull moose and a red fox. He liked the soft moss at the foot of his tree and the way the light swam through the tall branches. See how different it looks here than the other places? Each of these bears has a different home. As he scrambled down, he spotted a clearing where the ground was stappled in red and blue. Berries grew so thick his mouth watered. The smallest of Alaska's bears ran to pick the blueberries, cranberries, and a currant or two. He nibbled and gobbled and gulped. Suddenly it was all familiar, like a dream he had dreamed before. This place is just right, he said. Now, each spring, when the light lingers in the sky, when the geese fly north and the flowers bloom, the three bears come out to wander. They may cross mountains or sail an iceberg out to sea, but no matter how far Alaska's bears roam, they can always find their way back home. And that is the end. The last page gives you some tips about what to do if you're camping somewhere near bears. So if you wanted to borrow this book or get this book, there's some good tips in there all about how to keep safe around bears. But I hope you enjoyed my other Alaska story I brought for you this week. Like I said, if you were to borrow this book or find this book at the library, there's a lot of information about bears I didn't get to read. It would have been too long. But we did learn a little bit about bears from this story too. So I hope you enjoy it, and we will see you next week with some more stories. Bye.